Alright everyone, welcome back to another Resident Evil video. This is the next one in the Why Was It Good, or What Made It Good series, and this is the difficult one. This is the one where you have to really think about it. Resident Evil 6, everyone. This game, if you've been paying attention to recent uploads, and if you have, you would have noticed I have played Umbrella Corps in a couple of videos, and I went on to say that the game itself is good, but in terms of it being a Resident Evil game, it's terrible. And that's basically where this kind of falls for most people, and for me. Like, 5, as mentioned in the 5 video, 5 is acceptable. 5 still feels kind of like a Resident Evil game, in terms of there's moments in that game where it's intense, like, and you have to think about what you're doing, you have to be careful. But this game kind of just holds your hand all the way through, and it's so action orientated. The ammo and things that would be a problem in the older games just isn't a thing. And some of the set pieces in this game are just completely over the top. But regardless of the story and how it plays out, there's some good points in this game that I have found and do remember the being in the game that I do want to talk about. So we're gonna try and pick those out. But if you do like Resident Evil 6, let me know why, because I do like the game. Like I said, I like the game, but in terms of a Resident Evil game, it's not so great. But the game itself is enjoyable. So if you like the game for other reasons than what I'm about to say, then do let me know. And let's just get into it. Okay, so in terms of the story, there's there's a lot going on in this game. If you haven't played 6, it has 3 campaigns that all kind of like intertwine at a certain point in the game. You just kind of play the partners' versions of the story up to the point where they meet. You have Leon and Helena, which is, for me, let's hit my hand up my guitar. Helena and Leon's campaign for me is probably the best one. It starts out as an actual zombie game, but then it kind of changes into like the mutated, over the top enemies. But the first part of the game is quite good. That's that. Chris's campaign and Pierce's campaign. That's good. I mean, people don't like that one. I think it's okay. It's a lot more action orientated than the other two, but it's enjoyable. Like I said, like, it's just not really, the vibe is off. If I use that properly, like, it's not a Resident Evil game in the slightest. And then you have Jake and Sherry's campaign, which is probably the most interesting story-wise, because Jake is a new character that they had to 6. Obviously Helena is a new character, Piers is a new character, but Jake has more like depth to his story than those two. And obviously Sherry, who is all grown up in this game, and you play as her as well, which is really cool. But the story is so convoluted, and there's so many different arcs going on that it's just kind of hard to follow if you're not really paying attention. To put it bluntly, zombies happens again, basically everywhere this time, and that's to do with this new version of Umbrella called Neo Umbrella, which plan to just kind of globally infect everyone with like this mist. I think, like, there's this mist that if you like breathe it in, you turn into a zombie or a monster, and essentially you have to kind of fix that. There's more to it than that, but for the most part it's just, oh no, Umbrella did zombies again, time to stop them again. But it's just more, there's more detail than that, but for the most part that's what you're going for the story. Okay, now we get into the meat and potatoes and why I like this game so much. There's a lot of gameplay mechanics in this game that are actually, they're not like really the most useful things in the world for the most part, but they're quite funny. It does definitely change the pace of the game. For instance, the herb system is kind of different. Like, you have like they get turned into like these tablets now. You can carry like loads of them at once, and you just pop R1 as many times as you need one. It just heals you to that set amount. The weapons, there's a lot of weapons in this game, and it just kind of, it takes the upgrade system from 4 and 5 and changes it to like these skills. There's different types of skills that increase your damage, skills that increase your defense and your stamina, stuff like that, your weapon sway, and you get the experience points by finding like the collectible XP items throughout the missions. Again, there's a lot different to just, having the money from selling treasures and then just buying upgrades for weapons, but there's more depth to it than that, because obviously it just affects the weapons and the characters, which is nice. And then actual mechanics in the game. The hand-to-hand combat is a bit more than just a knife swing now. It's more like a punch, a kick, and then an execute, which looks really cool. They usually look really cool. I think Leon's is pretty cool, and then Jake is actually like has a weapon that's his hands. For story reasons, I don't want to spoil anything, but for story reasons, his hands are weapons, you know, because why not? But yeah, there's a lot of guns in this game, a lot of different guns. Some of them are good, some of them are just kind of reskins of the same gun. But the gunplay is nice in this game, I'll give it that. And then Agile Mechanics. There's a lot of set pieces in the game that use different mechanics. To point out a few, there's a part in Chris's campaign where you're in a jet, and you either have to fly or shoot it, depending on who you're playing. I know it's already over the top saying you fly a jet in the Resident Evil game. In Jake and Sherry's campaign, you are on a motorbike, one of you is driving, one of you shoots off the back. Excuse me. Yeah, one of you drives, one of you shoots. And it's a fun little piece. It's a fun little set piece for the game, but again, completely over the top. What else is there? There is another bit in the Jake campaign is where there's like a small-ish open world segment where you're on like jet skis. Not jet skis. Snowmobiles. And you can draw those around the area and you can do some pretty sweet tricks off them and stuff like that. There's a slide mechanic in this game now where you sprint into a slide. The game is obviously looking more of a free flow third person shooter rather than like the spot aim and shoot kind of mechanics from 4 and 5. They just kind of made it into a third person FPS. Third person FPS, I don't know what, makes no sense, but I don't know why I said that. Yeah, but there's definitely a load of fresh mechanics in the game that make it really good. There's a lot of like, as you see, this is like the prologue of the game. I didn't want to show anything major, but this is like the first bit of the game I actually play. I didn't actually have a save on my console, so I had to kind of just do this. But that save has now been restored, so I do have all my saves back. But there's a lot of like real-time events in this game. Probably too many, but some of them, what's going on that causes them is pretty cool. Like this whole bit in a minute is pretty cool. There's a lot. Like there's probably too many of them, to be honest. But they're fun, they're entertaining, and it's pretty funny if you mess them up because some of the deaths you get from screwing them is quite funny, to be honest. Honestly, the game, like I said, it's not a good Resident Evil game, but it is entertaining to play. Like at least the first time through, like it is fun. Another thing I want to talk about is some of the boss fights. Some of the boss fights are genuinely, again, nuts, but there is some that are quite good. They do kind of take the same formula from 5, where they're just kind of like these big, oily, fleshy monsters with glowing orange weak spots. There's not really any bosses in this game that kind of like force you to do it a certain way. And then some of the bosses themselves are actually quite crazy. Like there's a shark. We've seen like fish enemies before this point, obviously the fish in 4, but this is a straight up shark. It's not really a boss fight, it's more like it is a set piece, but it's pretty cool. Then there is the end of Leon's campaign. I won't spoil who it is or what happens, but essentially it mutates into like a T-Rex. I don't know why, but you're on the back of like a Humvee with a machine gun, and you have to like, it chases you around the arena and you have to shoot it in the mouth to stun it. Again, it's ridiculous, but it is fun. It is fun. And then Jake's campaign has like a discount nemesis, right? Like it's Nemesis, but it's like Nemesis' edgy brother. Okay, like it looks like him, acts like him, but it ain't him. And he just kind of has kind of the theme of persistently being there throughout the campaign. And then when you finally get to fight him, it's pretty cool. There's a couple of fights with him throughout Jake's campaign that are pretty cool. Speaking of Jake's campaign, there is a boss fight. There's literally a tank. You are fighting a tank, which doesn't actually sound as over the top as it is, but because there's usually some kind of weird boss fight like that in these types of games. But this is a tank, so zombies, remember. But I don't know. In terms of the boss fights, they're all kind of enjoyable, but they're all just kind of the same. Same with 5. The boss fights aren't terrible. It's a Resident Evil boss fight, so it's not the best thing ever, but they're enjoyable, and some of them do look kind of cool, which is nice. But yeah, other than that, obviously you have like the replayability in this game is, I would say it's quite high. Obviously you got 3 campaigns and the Ada campaign. That's more of a solo campaign because If you can't play that in co-op, but then the second character just kind of appears. Isn't actually there if you play it normally. It's just Ada. But if you can't play a 2-player, but the second guy is first out of place. But again, if you want to play it through this game with a player or a friend, it's 10 times better than playing it with the AI. The AI in this game is definitely better than 5's, but it's still quite annoying to deal with. Well, no, there's a lot more play modes in this game. Again, a couple of them. You got Team Survivors, which is like a team deathmatch type thing. There's a free-for-all version of that. Mercenaries in this game, to be honest, Mercenaries in 6 is quite good, and the soundtrack kind of slaps. Like, if you've played Mercenaries in 6 and you've listened to that soundtrack, I think it's on the China map specifically, but could be wrong. I just remember that one the most. The soundtrack is amazing. Like, I love it. But yeah, the PvP modes, I don't think anyone really plays them anymore. I will have to check. But Resident Evil 6, you know, like I said, it's a good game. The game is fun. It's enjoyable. Definitely play it with another person. Definitely play all the campaigns. They're all kind of somewhat different. There is points where you're going to have to repeat the same part again across a couple of them. Well, there's a boss fight in Chris's campaign you have to do again as Jake, and there's a boss fight in Leon's campaign you have to do again as Jake. But no, it's a good game. It's a good game. It's fun. I would recommend it to anyone who hasn't played it because it is entertaining. But that's really going to be my thoughts about 6. I enjoyed it first time through. Again, play it with the person, play with a friend of mine when it came out, all the way through basically in one day. A lot of fun. Not too long, not too short. But yeah, it's a weak entry to the series, obviously. But the game's not bad. It's not a bad game. It's just so out there in terms of the tone of the series. But nevertheless, again, if there is points about 6 you like that I didn't mention, or things you think of 6 in general, whether that's good or bad, then obviously let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and then next video should be, in terms of the What Made It Good series, should be Code Veronica. I do want to do 7 and 8 at some point. I do want to kind of make a video on those specifically, because I did cover those briefly in a video across like 3 different games, but I'll have to think about whether that's necessary to do, because I need to kind of cover them already. But Code Veronica next, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I do want to cover some other like survival horror games on the Resident Evil series. One that comes to mind is probably The Evil Within. I love those games, and they're underrated as hell. But yeah, Code Veronica next, in terms of discussing the game. I know people have a lot of things to say about that, and I also have a lot of things to say about Code Veronica. So, until then, well, not until then, until tomorrow, I will see you all in the next one.
Back for more?